Thank you for listening to Pal Block Podcast, the flagship Nintendo podcast of Boss Rush Network. Do you need even more gaming and entertainment in your life? Head over to bossrush.net where you can find news, reviews, creators, podcasts, and more focused around the content you enjoy.
Hello everybody, welcome to Nintendo Power Block here on Boss Rush Network. I'm your host, the enlightened, excited Eddie V. So glad to be back with you guys. What a week. We finished, I finished, I should say. King Koopa, King Bowser, whatever you want to call him. Mario Kart 9 track in his castle. I cannot wait for you guys to see it in the future. But joining me on this episode is gallivanting Galutrad himself, Mr. Jacob Taylor.
Hey, what's going on, Ed? I haven't seen you.
Yes, I was happy to hear that you like the ketchup and nacho cheese.
It was good, man. It was solid. It was a solid choice. I got a new and exciting snack for you this week.
Ooh, yes. Yeah. And of course, Bossman himself, my bro him, the one, the only, Mr. Corey Derrick.
Hello, happy to be here. I can't wait for Ed to roll his eyes when he hears about what I've been playing.
Well, before we get more into that, everybody, our Indie Insider Dan cannot be able to make it. He is getting some things ready for the future, but I do want to say to him, from all of us here at Nintendo Power Block and from the Boss Rush community, happy birthday, Dan. Hopefully you got
happy
a chance
birthday,
to
Dan. Woo! Sorry, I was cheering. I interrupted you.
Yes.
I was cheering.
Yes. So, but before we get, yes, Jacob?
I said indeed. Sorry. I also interrupted you. We're a professional podcast.
Yes, we podcast all the time.
Yep.
Hard to believe we're approaching 300 episodes of this show.
Yes. And speaking of 300, we have an announcement. Mr. Corey, would you like to announce what is coming forth?
Yeah, we've put the episode 300 shirts or designs up on the store, on our Redbubble store. So you can check those out. You can get a shirt, you can get a mug, you can get a sticker, you can get a thing. So, if you go to the Boss Rush Network store, you can get your episode 300 merch. I decided to pop it up early because, it takes a couple weeks to get to you. If you want to decide,
you want to have it for episode 300.
So get it.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
By the way, you can go to bossrush.net and there's a link to the store directly there.
Yes, we also have a Redbubble link, but I don't really know what it is. I'm gonna be straight with you guys. I don't know. Yep. It is redbubble.com/people/bossrushgames.
All right. I cannot wait to get my shirt. I'm so excited.
I know. I'm about to buy all kinds of Power Block stuff because I haven't, we've had the store for so long and I have yet to buy anything from it.
Exactly.
Because I suck as a host. That's fine.
Well, before we talk about what's been happening during our weekend, Corey, would you like to give a shout out to our Patreon producers?
Yeah, let's do that. So, as you guys know, all of our content here on the Boss Rush Network is free to consume. But for just $1, you can get the Boss Rush podcast 1 week early, Nintendo Power Block Expansion Pass 1 week early, Standard Definition, the Retro Nostalgia podcast 2 weeks early, and Boss Rush After Dark 2 weeks early. Wow, 4 shows early for just $1. But guess what? At the $5 producer level, you can be shouted out on the show by subscribing to that tier. So, without further ado, we are going to shout out our Patreon producers. Are you guys ready? We have Quentin Jackson, Rebecca Jewell, Adriel Munger, and my wife, Sana Dierig. Thank you to our Patreon producers. You can head to patreon.com/BossRushNetwork if you would like to support us. But if not, remember, all of our content is free, and you can just leave a 5-star rating on iTunes or Spotify. That also helps.
Yes. Uh-oh. Everybody.
Visual gags on a podcast. It's great.
I know.
Yes. Well, I'm gonna ask you, Jacob. How was your weekend?
My weekend was pretty good. I went to my nephew's last Little League baseball game before their like tournament, and they smoked the floor with the other team. It was like, so they have like a rule where after they get 5 runs, they switch because you know they don't want one side to just be. They want everyone to play. But yeah, my nephew's team 5 runs. The other team 3 outs. My nephew's team 5 runs. The other team 3 outs. It was a good game. It was a good game to watch.
Oh, hey, good,
So
awesome.
that was a lot of fun on Saturday, and then Sunday I just played a little bit of Xenoblade Chronicles, which I'll talk more about in Playing with Power.
Ooh, yes. Corey, how was your weekend?
You know, Ed, my weekend was okay. We went to my daughter's soccer game, and we hung out a little bit. My nephew's birthday party was on Saturday as well. His friend birthday party. So after the party was over, we went over and ate all the rest of the pizza. So that was fun. And yeah, we did that. And then I also experimented a little bit with this bad boy. This is the Backbone controller for iPhone. It's just like a set of controllers that attaches to your phone and meant to be used with stuff like Apple Arcade, Xbox Game Pass, Remote Play for PlayStation and Xbox, that kind of stuff. So I've been playing around a little bit with this, and I'll talk a little bit about it when we get to Playing with Power. But I got to tell you, I was actually impressed with this little device.
Oh, cool. Well, for me, I had to actually work this weekend. I actually got called and had to go to another store to help them close. And as I was driving, I seen this big church, like this monastery, and it's almost a whole block. It's beautiful. I'm like, I want to park into this monastery and just walk around and see. It's really nice seeing that. But that's pretty much all I really did. I did do some gaming. Like I said, I can't wait to talk about it and play with Power. But really this weekend I pretty much had to work, so no fun for me. But that doesn't stop our favorite part of the show, Snacktendo. Corey, what have you been snacking on?
Honestly, not a whole lot. We, like I said, my nephew's birthday party was this weekend, so we kind of went over there and ate all the pizza. But we had some birthday cake or whatever. I mean, I didn't really eat anything weird this weekend. Although, oh wait, hold on, Ed, gotta tell you, we went to Aldi,
Yes.
and my wife got these things called Knotwursts, which is like Knaut wurst, and they're like sausages. They're like really good sausages, and we grilled them up, lathered them in mustard, threw them on a bun. Just, oh my gosh, dude. You will never eat a regular hot dog ever again. Man, these things are just... No brown mustard, though. No brown mustard.
I have thoughts about the brown mustard.
No, you're wrong. I don't care what they are, you're wrong.
Brown mustard on a hot dog?
Yeah. Spicy brown mustard. Where's Dan? I need Dan to defend the brown mustard thing.
I don't know.
Dan?
I like brown mustard. I just don't know about brown mustard on a hot dog.
No, it's good. Laurent in the chat, don't start with that brown mustard. Oh, man. But it was good, so we had that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Jacob? What have you been snacking on?
So immediately after our show ended last week, Becca and I were on the phone, and she told me of a snack that she tried and convinced me to try it. And I gotta say, it sounds awful, but it tastes amazing. And that's a piece of toast with peanut butter, lime juice, and chili flakes. and cilantro. And it sounds like it would be terrible, but it's really, really good. It's like you're having a piece of toast with like Thai food on it. Because you have that creaminess from the peanut butter, and then the lime juice cuts through, and you get that spice from the chili flake. Like it's probably, I don't know if I could have regular peanut butter toast again. It's very, very good.
It sounds like instead of guacamole, you replaced it with peanut butter in a sense.
Yeah, but except it's
a texture thing.
Yeah, but it's not that for texture wise, yes, but like flavor profile, it's totally.
Oh yeah,
it's totally different. And again, she had to convince me of this chat. The live Twitch chat is going a little nuts, but she had to convince me of this. I was against it at first, but I told her, you know what? I tried Ed's cheese on fries with ketchup, and that was delicious. So I'm gonna try this, and it's life changing. It's life changing.
I don't like this. I don't know.
Just give it a shot. Give it a shot. You probably have all the ingredients in your kitchen right now.
Probably. I'm sure we do.
So there's no excuse.
Maybe.
What about you, Ed?
We'll check
was your
back.
Snacktendo?
I think Ed's frozen.
Ed's
frozen. Oh no! I thought he was just smiling real bit nice.
I did too.
I thought he was just listening.
Oh no. Well, I'm pretty sure that Ed probably had a delicious amount of snacks to review.
I'm sure he did. But by the way, Jacob.
Yeah.
How do you? So we're going back a couple weeks ago. How do you feel about Little Caesars pizza?
So Little Caesars is decent pizza, if you don't have another option.
Okay.
It's incredibly cheap, and it also tastes like it's incredibly cheap.
Okay.
But their crazy bread though is where it's at.
Okay. Because like I've never really had Little Caesars, and we had it this weekend. And it wasn't terrible. But like,
oh yeah,
it just, I mean, like, again, they bought pizza for like a bunch of kids, right? I mean, you're gonna buy the cheapest pizza, whatever.
Oh yeah.
But like, it wasn't bad. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be, because my previous experience with Little Caesars was I was with my cousin a couple years ago, well, probably like 10 years ago at this point, and like we were out retro video game hunting. Wow, Ed's just got this weird black screen going on. You're right there.
Sorry, Bird. Skype crashed on me for some reason.
Yeah, now we can't see you at all.
Yeah, it looks like your camera is still off
Yeah.
or crashed.
Yeah.
It's fine. We're just talking about pizza. Yeah. It's fine.
Laurent in the chat says Little Caesars pizza is what you have when you don't love yourself anymore. And I think that's a little harsh. I think that you could do worse for pizza. Like Jets pizza is awful. That's the pizza that you have if you don't love yourself anymore. But Little Caesars is okay. You pay for what you get, right? Like they're the perfect example of you pay for what you get.
Yeah. Let me tell you about this experience we had in Michigan real quick before we move on. Okay. So about 10 years ago, I was with my cousin. We were retro game hunting, and we used to like keep up on like all like cheap ass gamers boards and stuff, and he would like map it out, and I would just ride along with him and go search for stuff. We stopped at this Little Caesars in Michigan, okay, and it was one of those Little Caesars that was like inside a Kmart, right? So like it was already sketch. So we walk up to the counter, and we were really hungry because we hadn't eaten all day, so we bought the last hot and ready pizza at this Little Caesars. And like the cheese was like, it was kind of green. Okay. It was like probably should have been thrown away at some point a week ago. But we ate it. Okay. And like, we were like, oh man, that was better than we thought it was going to be. Okay. And so we went to our next stop was at Target, dude. 5 minutes after walking to Target, we run to the bathroom, because this pizza just shot right through us, and it was not fun. And the worst part is that all the stalls were out of toilet paper. We didn't check. So we made his friend go get us toilet paper off the rack and bring it in.
Wow.
And that was the last time I had Little Caesars until this weekend.
Wow. Let's see. I get the Slender from my Pizza Hut. Do not come from my Pizza Hut. I love getting it.
But you had Pizza Hut by choice. I had Little Caesars because that's what it was available, Ed.
That is true.
Okay. You had Pizza Hut by choice. Therefore, I still win this conversation.
How did you still win?
I don't know.
I used to think Pizza Hut was pretty good, but I've since changed my mind about that.
Domino's,
I think it's
Domino's is top tier garbage pizza.
Yeah, if you're talking fast food pizza, Domino's is definitely the best.
Yes. Thank you. I'm so glad Galutrad.
Pizza Hut is like it's not great.
Really? Pizza Hut is the best. I love even Pizza Hut. I mean, I don't get it as often like I do Domino's. That's because of distance-wise that is farther than me. Like I have to go actually drive to go get Pizza Hut, where Domino's just delivers because they're closer to me. There's just something about it that I just enjoy. Every once in a blue moon and everything. It's not something that I'm ordering constantly like I do Domino's. And the only reason I do Domino's is because I'm stuck at work and I can't leave the building. That's the only reason. Yeah.
I will say though, on a level of service base, personally, Pizza Hut has nailed my requests every time, and Domino's has failed almost every time. But their pizza still tastes better. Like they'll forget an ingredient, or they'll get an order wrong, or they'll be like super late to deliver. But Pizza Hut is always like good to go.
I never see at Domino's. I never get anything other than pepperoni. So I don't eat pizza with other toppings on it. You know, so I mean, once in a great while, I'll venture out and get like ham or bacon on my pizza, but like that's as far
not
as
like
it goes.
a Supreme.
That's as far as it goes. Now, if I'm going to Aldi and getting a Mama Cozzi's pizza, okay, I will get a Supreme. I will get the 4 cheese. I will get the meat lovers. Like, I'll get all that stuff. But when it comes to Domino's, I'm like, no, I got a simple, easy, got to be pepperoni.
To answer the chat's questions, I don't order like a lot. Like I usually, my go-to pizza is Italian sausage and banana peppers. But specifically, I ask them to double cut the pizza. Try it. It makes all the slices bite-sized. It's a lot easier to eat, and you end up with more pizza. Like you don't end up with more pizza, but it feels like you do because the time it takes to consume the pizza. Yes, double cut the pizza. And that's what they get wrong. Domino's almost never does it. Pizza Hut does it every single time.
We got a place called Quonset's that do like the thin crust. Like they're the best at thin crust, and they do that double cut.
Okay, so question for you. Now you're talking about thin crust pizza. When you're talking about thin crust pizza, because you're from North Chicago, and Chicago's known for deep dish. When you're talking thin crust, are you talking just like a normal pizza, or are you talking like they're putting these toppings on crackers?
So they're it tastes like crackers at the end.
No,
with it, because the crust is not too. That's what the thin crust is. It's because the crust is so thin, like you could just like break it apart like it's a cracker.
If you wanna eat pizza and not feel totally guilty about it, thin crust is the way to go.
Right, that's the most popular one for like a lot of football games. And like get-togethers and stuff. People go for the thin crust because for a lot of places it's cheaper. With it, it's just, I guess, for some people easier to digest because it's not all that breading when it gets to the end of the pizza. And most thin crust that they do here, unless you're buying like Jack's or something like that, like a store-bought thin crust, most of them is, like you said, Jacob, is double cut. Like anywhere you order when it's thin crust, it's double cut.
Yeah.
It's not cut into regular 6 or 8 pieces. So.
Okay. I had an interesting conversation with someone from work the other day about deep dish pizza, and I think it's like a universal thing in this area that deep dish pizza is not real pizza, and nobody really likes it around here.
It depends. Oh, go ahead. Jacob?
The only deep dish pizza that I've ever seen in Texas is the Lunchables deep dish pizza.
Oh no,
And
gross.
there is some places here in North Chicago, and Grayson might be able to speak more about this in Chicago also, that they kind of call certain things deep dish. Mostly with the deep dish, all the toppings and cheeses on the bread, and then the sauces on the top. But there are some people who it's still the big breading and everything, but it's still the reverse where the sauce is there and then it's the cheese and the toppings. And the reason they call it deep dish for some places is because of the pizza being bigger. That's it. So, but Chicago has the true deep dish. But let me quickly get into my Snacktendo real quick. So I got some new glasses at Walmart, and
Do they taste good?
Wait. Before you finish, guys, Ed's Snacktendo is that Ed is the snack.
Ed, you are a snack.
Ooh,
Yep.
thank you.
Yeah.
I'm in my daddy era.
Oh,
No.
look what we did. Oh no.
So I went and got, I picked up my new glasses and we decided to go a little bit shopping. Me and Austin was talking and he told me about this blueberry Kit Kat. And it's out at certain places, but it's not at the Walmart that I went to. It didn't have it, so I'm on a journey to find it. But I heard it is the bomb. A lot of people love it. But I picked up some Sunkist Mango Orange. It's their new flavor. Yes, it's weird. And so I've been drinking it, and I could taste the mango. I can't really taste the orange. It ends up tasting like coconut in a sense.
Okay.
So yeah. So I'm just like, oh, this is a weird taste and everything. But I'm like, it's fine, I guess. In a sense, it's nothing like big and major or anything. I did try the brown mustard, and I did when I got some Frank's nacho cheese hot dogs, because I enjoyed those. And I was just like, okay, I never tried brown mustard. I'm gonna try it with some ketchup just to see how it tastes, and then I'm gonna try it by itself. Make sure that I get the combination, and it's okay. I thought it was gonna be like a really.
Did you get?
hot,
Hold on.
spicy.
Did you get regular brown mustard or did you get spicy brown mustard?
I got spicy brown mustard.
Okay.
Is
It's
there
not-
regular brown mustard.
Yeah.
And not just mustard.
Yeah. No. There's regular brown mustard that doesn't have that tang taste to it.
Why?
I don't know. A lot of people around here call it ballpark mustard, but it's not what you get at baseball games. I don't know why it's called ballpark mustard, but it's like brown mustard without the tang, and it kind of sucks.
Okay. Go ahead, Ed. Sorry, we cut it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay. I thought it was gonna be like really spicy, really give it a kick, and I guess it's just not for me. It just didn't do nothing for me. Sorry, Corey. Spicy brown mustard's for you and Dan. I respect that. I accept it. It is what it is.
Well, at least you tried it.
Yeah, and I still got some, and I think I'll try more until the bottle's gone and everything. It's just I thought it was gonna be like it's gonna blow my socks off, and it just didn't wow me. And it may be because of my tongue with regular mustard. It's just like okay, so used to it. I think I would have to get used to spicy brown mustard. But yeah, I'm sorry, Corey.
You don't have to apologize. It's just a condiment, Ed. I don't like ketchup, so.
Okay. So, but everybody, that has been Snacktendo. Hopefully, I can find that Kit Kat berry, blueberry, and it's a blueberry muffin, I should say, to make sure that I'm clear about it. So hopefully, I do get to taste that. But we're going to move on to our next segment. Hey, you, what's new? And Jacob, what's new? What's coming to the Nintendo Switch?
Yeah, so there's plenty of games coming to the Nintendo Switch this week. You can check them all out on the eShop or on the Nintendo's webpage. But a couple that I wanted to highlight are Wildcat Gun Machine, releasing on Wednesday, May 4th, the day this show goes live on podcast services near you. You enter a bullet hell dungeon crawler where you take on hordes of disgusting flesh beasts with a wide variety of guns, giant mech robots, and cute kittens. That one looks really good. That's Wildcat Gun Machine. There's also Citizen Sleeper, which arrives on Thursday, May 5th. Live the life of an escaped worker washed up on a lawless station at the edge of an interstellar society. This game takes a lot of cues from like tabletop games and your standard RPGs. That one looks looks really good. And then we've got on Friday, May 6th, a bundle of games from publisher Game Nacional. I think it's supposed to be pronounced National, but it's spelled Nacional. And it includes a couple platforming games for $19.99 that I've seen on the eShop, but I've never actually picked up. But that's Cat, Dog, and Cat Milk, which are all these little pixelated platforming games where you play as either a cat or a dog. And they seem interesting. They seem cute. So maybe for $20 to get all three of them might be a good deal, or wait for that one to go on sale if you're interested in indie platformers. I like picking up games that I don't necessarily know everything about before I make the decision. So that one looks neat. But yeah, that's what's new this week.
All right. Well, everybody, it's time for Question the Block. Corey, take it away.
All right. So remember, guys, you can write into the question block by tweeting at PowBlock Podcast or emailing us at nintendopowblock@gmail.com. We usually put out a thread on Mondays, but you don't have to wait. You can just tweet at us. Just tweet us a question. It'll be a good time. I promise. So we have one question from last week, and we have two questions from this week that we did not get to. So without further ado, we are going to get to... Let me pull it up because I took pictures of my kids in front of the questions. Oh, no. All right. So Brad Melville, this was his question from last week. He says, which GBA games should get a 2.5D sequel in the style of Octopath Traveler or Triangle Strategy? I want Golden Sun or Tales of Fantasia. So that is our first question. Ed, I'm going to go your way first.
Oh, Game Boy Advance one. I want to go with Astro Boy. It was a shooter developed by Treasure, and I heard it was so good, really, really good. And I would love to see that come back and get a HD 2D remake. Seeing what Treasure could do with that style of graphics, and have them actually make a game because I miss Treasure and I want more games from them.
Nice. Jacob, what do you think? What are some GBA games that you would like to?
So Golden Sun is a must. Hit the nail on the head with that one. I would love to see Boktai, The Sun is in Your Hands, come back. Mostly just because I want to see them figure out how to make that work on the Switch with having to go into the sun. I mean, we have the little camera on the bottom of the right Joy-Con, so that I'm sure that could probably sense sunlight or something, but I think that would be a lot of fun. And then Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. That's one of my favorite Final Fantasy Tactics games, or just tactics games in general, so I would love to see that have a perfectly no altered, no story altered, no gameplay mechanics altered, just change the graphics to be that 2.5D HD whatever and call it a day.
Nice.
Okay.
What about you, Corey?
Man, Game Boy Advance was really... I played a lot of it, but I played a lot of the same games. I hear everybody talk about Golden Sun all the time. So, I mean, I guess that has to be one of them. I mean, I kind of want another another Kingdom Hearts game in the vein of Chain of Memories minus the card game. aspect.
Oh, wow.
Because the card games kind of it's not my jam. But also what I was thinking about was another like if they did like a Mario and Luigi game in the vein of this, because like
I'm glad
I really
you said that because I was going to interrupt and come back in with that.
yeah, because I really like those games, and I think I really like the art style they have now. But I think if you did like maybe not even like a full game, but if they got warped into like a retro world or whatever, right? Similar to what they did in Dream Team, where like they got sucked into Luigi's dream world or whatever. If they got sucked into a world where like everything is pixelated or whatever, and like you can move through this world as them and this kind of, and like you got to see kind of like how the 8-bit Mario looks in the amiibo form almost.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that'd be really cool.
That would be
Can I
cool.
can I add Metroid Zero Mission and Fusion?
No, because we got a sequel to that. It's called Metroid Dread.
Yeah, but that's not in the. I agree with that. That's because that's not in the same art style. I don't,
Right.
Specifically, Zero Mission. I could kind of give or take Fusion. It was a good game, but
I would love to. I would love to see it because it would probably give more detail for the backgrounds than that evil Samus. Like to see
That's
that,
it.
like yeah, and to just to see how that would look and be like, ooh, this is chill.
You know what other game would be really cool? Actually, would be like a Mario versus Donkey Kong. Remember the March of the Minis games?
Yeah.
yeah.
That those games would be kind of cool in like a HD 2D kind of form, or even like not really a Game Boy Advance game, but like a direct sequel to Donkey Kong, like a Donkey Kong 4 or whatever. That'd be super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Brad, for your question. Our second question we have from Josh Martinez. He says, "Hey guys, long time, first time. Do you have a preference to playing docked or handheld? I know situations can necessitate one over the other, but I'm talking times you can choose. What are some games that are more enjoyable to you in one mode or another?" Jacob, I'm going your way first.
Yeah, so I 100% play more in handheld than I do in docked. So much so that I actually went out and purchased a pair of Joy-Con Grip by Manji. They're specific to just the Joy-Con, so it doesn't slide over the dock itself or the system itself at all. And they have like straps on the back that you can slide your fingers through to get a better grip on the system. And it's night and day being able to use that. But like, and especially before the OLED, I played more handheld, but after the OLED, I definitely play more handheld. But I will say, I will always choose to play Mario Kart on a TV versus on handheld, because I have to use a single Joy-Con with my little Joy-Con wheel. 'Cause
Oh, no.
I'm a motion control
You're one of
player,
those people.
and I destroy you every
Oh,
time.
no. Oh,
He's a master.
Galutrad,
I'm
I
a
thought we were
master.
friends.
Listen, man, motion. I love all the quirky controller setups that Nintendo does. I was a huge fan of the Wii and the Wii motion and the pointing and the shooting, and yeah, I will pick motion controls over no motion controls any day.
Oh,
And
no.
like, I love the DS. I always, like in Mario 64 on the DS, I always use the touch screen. Like, I loved that. It was great. Fantastic.
Oh no, so I know I kind of made fun of that, but I have 4 of the wheels for Wii.
Yeah.
I have 4 Wii wheels. I have 2 black ones and 2 white ones. And yeah, not that I'm like proud to have those. I just
No, dude, it's the best way to play.
oh no.
Best way to play, and my stats will prove it.
I believe you. I believe that you believe that that is the best way to play.
Or it could just be a personal handicap that I keep on myself, just to make it fair for
Look,
others.
you know what? Play how you want to play. You know, that's why we're here, right? So, Ed, what's your hot take?
So, I play in dock mode a lot. because I got this big nice TV. I do a lot of gaming at home, and I don't really not go out or anything, and I take my Switch. Only like really take it out if I'm waiting on somebody, or if I'm at work and I just want to like play the arcade game or some indie game and stuff. But I'm mostly playing everything on at home because I'll be able to see the detail of the game. Sometimes it runs a little bit better in dock mode than in handheld. Like playing Link's Awakening, it was running better in dock mode than it was in handheld, and everything. And I will say it does look good on the OLED. I will say that. But when I'm mostly gaming and buying a lot of games and stuff, I do it for my dock. I play it in dock mode.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I prefer to play in docked mode, but also like sometimes life doesn't exactly like allow me to do that, especially with kids. And my wife likes to watch TV at night sometimes, so like I'll just play Switch in handheld mode and then I'll put it in the dock when she goes to bed or whatever. So it's weird because like I prefer docked mode, but like with the OLED I kind of prefer playing in handheld. But also recently I've found that playing in docked mode with a Pro Controller for harder games like, I don't know, Champions Road and Super Mario 3D World is definitely the way to go, because sometimes when I'm playing in handheld mode, I will hit the right stick on accident when I'm trying to jump and sprint and do all these like crazy moves, and it throws me off, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I moved the camera and now I'm dead.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, that's but also like especially for some of these games that have been ported to Switch, like Assassin's Creed or BioShock, or not that I'm playing BioShock, but like some of these games just feel better with a controller and on the TV, and it's just a nice way to play. But that's the thing about the Switch is like you have the option to do both, and
Yes,
you can put it in tabletop mode and play with a Pro Controller if you really want to, and I've done that plenty of times recently. So yeah, that's my answer. I prefer docked, but the OLED makes it so tempting to play everything in handheld mode. But then you realize that certain games, the Joy-Cons just don't cut it. So
yeah. Corey, we have one more question.
Yes, we do.
Block.
On Twitter from
Yes.
Grayson, our friend.
Yes.
Grayson Morales, friend of the show, great guy. Check out his guides. I retweeted one of them the other day at Game Rant. You should check out. I love Grayson. I wish he was on the show every week. Not that I don't love you guys,
Same.
but Grayson's just awesome.
No, you don't. It's okay.
I do.
For Grayson, I'll make the exception.
I love all of you guys equally. Grayson asks, which Nintendo series, if any, have you wanted to be a fan of, but have never gotten into?
That's an easy one for me. The WarioWare series. I know a lot of people like it. It does kind of well, but I just never got into it. Something about it, like I love the mini games being wacky and everything, but I think it just never appealed to me and everything.
Now, does it have to be like a Nintendo franchise? Because I have
Yes.
question.
because I have two, and technically they're on Nintendo, but they're not Nintendo franchises. But I also have a Nintendo one if I have to pick it.
Yes, it has to be Nintendo.
I don't like this. Galutrad, you go.
You can't just pop it over to me. That's not fair. Yeah, So I'm probably gonna get a little bit of flack for this
It's fine.
from Becca specifically, but I could do without Star Fox.
Ooh.
I don't think Star Fox has done anything super exciting since 64. Adventures,
To be fair, that's
was
nobody
really
is
good.
gonna hate
No,
you for
I
that.
know, but I mean, I honestly don't think it's even done anything to like revolutionize the gaming as a whole. Like I don't feel, I feel like without Star Fox, gaming would still be what it is today.
Well, I think when it comes to piloting games like that, Star Fox has become like the number one in it, because like who really talks about Ace Combat? Who really talks about Konami doing Top Gun on NES?
I feel like if Star Fox wasn't there, one of those series would like sneak in where Star Fox is.
To be fair,
but don't get me.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jacob.
Well, I was just gonna say, don't get me wrong. I love the characters of Star Fox. I love Slippy and Peppy and Falco and Fox and General Pepper. Like, I love all of them. But the games themselves, I'm kind of like, I could do or do without.
I have one thing to say before you go, Ed.
Okay.
I just want to say that the best Star Fox game since Nintendo 64 was that stupid Ubisoft game, the Starlink game.
Yeah.
It really was.
And
that's not even a Star Fox
No,
game.
It's not. And like the Switch version is the only version with the Star Fox campaign in it, and it's really good. Mm-hmm. And that's the only thing I played in that game, because that's the only thing I cared about.
Wow.
And then I bounced. But I kind of agree with you, Jacob. Like,
I don't know what Star Fox does for
it's a
the
franchise
gaming community.
It's a franchise that needs a refresh, but I feel like Nintendo doesn't know what to do with it.
I think for that style of gameplay, it's the only one that's kind of memorable. I think with a lot of people, because
it's so memorable they've done it 6 times since the Nintendo 64.
Well,
and in the same vein, F-Zero also. I don't know if
F-Zero, I think, is a franchise that's super overrated. I'm sorry. It's like the GameCube one was fun.
Mm.
The N64 one is really bad. And the Super Nintendo one was impressive at the time, but also I throw it in the vein of Super Mario Kart, where like it was impressive at the time, but it's not good. It's not good.
Well, like I said,
in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fine. I think those series are just memorable to a lot of people because more people played them than in past series. Like when it comes to Star Fox, sorry if I'm going back. Sega had Choplifter, and they have Zexon 3D, and no, that was Namco. But
man, why aren't we talking about those hit franchises?
Well, because the thing about it is Sega had that style of gameplay. It just didn't really resonate. And even though they were big in the arcades, they just didn't resonate, and Sega didn't continue with them. Even Space Harrier, that was a big thing with Sega. But when Star Fox came out, it was just something, I guess, revolutionary to some people. And it, like you said, Jacob, it was the characters. So I think that going throughout the years, it just become more recognizable to some people, that they just have probably more memories with it.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that you're wrong for your answer.
No, yeah, of course not. I don't think that you're wrong. I love the WarioWare series, but it's just an opinion question.
To that point, Jatham in the chat says sometimes games are just good. Not everything has to revolutionize gaming.
Everything has to revolutionize gaming, Jay.
Well, I agree with him 100%. But Star Fox has not changed since 1996. It doesn't have to revolutionize gaming. It just needs to update itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I want to ask you all the reverse side of this. So Sassy in the chat is asking kind of the opposite of Grayson's question. Is there a game series you guys think is a must play?
Zelda. I mean,
I'm gonna say Kirby, because I think that especially in today's like day and age of just awful things are on the news all the time, you need a palate cleanser like Kirby.
Yeah,
I would say the Yoshi games, the Yoshi platform games, like starting with Yoshi Island, Yoshi 64, Woody World, Crafted World. Like those Yoshi games are really, really good. People think they're just easy because they'll get those games seem to be catered to children, but when you're trying to get everything in that game on one run is hard as ever. So I think like the Yoshi platform games people should get into. Should really try.
Yeah.
Just to real quick answer the original question. The Nintendo game that I really would love to be into and I just can't get into it is Animal Crossing. I think that I see a lot of people really relaxing with that game. It's just like a chill game, and I just cannot get into Animal Crossing. I've tried 3 times with this new one, and I just can't. And it bothers me that I can't, but I just can't. But the two non-Nintendo games I was going to bring up, one was Mega Man. I've just never been able to wrap my head around Mega Man, and I love the idea of, Mega Man and taking the enemy's powers to fight the next enemy. I think that's an awesome idea. I wish I could get into it. And then the other one is Castlevania. I've just it's never clicked with me.
Okay. If I'm gonna give a non-Nintendo series, it's Fallout, Elder Scrolls, Dragon Age, and Mass Effect. I've never been able to get into any of those games, and I've tried so hard.
Shoot, it's titles like Fortnite and what's the one that EA does?
Apex
Legends. I just can't get into them.
I'll agree with 3 of the 4 that you said, Jacob. I can't get into Fallout or Skyrim or Elder Scrolls or Dragon Age. I can't. Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Mass Effect is one of my favorite series of all time, but I have not played it since it came out. And I played a little bit of the first one from the Legendary Edition, and then something else came out, and I got distracted. But
I've been told that with Mass Effect, you either like Mass Effect or you like Dead Space, and I played Dead Space first, so that's my go-to series.
I've never heard that comparison before.
I've been told that several times when I tell people that I don't like Mass Effect. In fact, one person was even like, well, do you like Dead Space? And I was like, yeah, I love Dead Space. And they were like, well, that's why you don't like Mass Effect.
Oh, interesting. I've never heard
even
that
though
comparison.
There's 2 separate games.
They're both styles. So like they're both they came out around the exact same time, and they're both over-the-shoulder, third-person space shooters.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, one's a horror-style game, and one's more of an RPG-style game. But, like, there's this idea that, like, you got bored of that genre and moved on to something else.
Yeah. I understand the comparison. I've just never heard it. That's...
Yeah.
So, don't tell Iran. He likes both.
Yeah.
Anyways,
all power to the people who love those games. I can't get into them.
Yeah. But thank you everybody for your questions. Yeah. Ed, back to you.
All right, everybody, it's time for FamiNews. Yes, Jacob, take it away.
Yeah, so the FamiNews segment's going to be a little different this week. I'm going to run through 4 just kind of like headline news pieces, and then we have a big news piece to talk about at the end. But if either of y'all have something that you want to butt in with for the 4 headline pieces, please do if you have anything that you want to share. So let's get started. The official Nintendo of Europe Twitter account confirmed that all basic weapons will return in Splatoon 3, which releases on, I believe, September 7th. I think that's the date. In the tweet that they mentioned this in, there's some promotional artwork and already showcasing a few of the noteworthy weapons, including the In-Zapper, the Jet Squelcher, the Arrow Spray, which is one of my favorite Splatoon weapons, and the Splattershot Pro. May the 4th be with you. Star Wars is celebrating its official day this month with some eShop price discounts. You'll find Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, Star Wars Republic Commando, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Academy, and Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast, all under $11.99 each.
Guess
Some
who
of
got,
those much cheaper
guess
than
who got them all?
Nice.
This guy.
Those deals will be available in the US, the UK, and the EU eShops until May 5th at 11:59 PDT. The man, the myth, the half-cyborg, half-professional gamer himself, Reggie Fils-Aimé, will be appearing on G4 Tech TV's What, Ed? Or do you have it already? Okay, hold on. Sorry. If you're watching the video, you'll see why I freaked out. Reggie Fils-Aimé will be appearing on G4 Tech TV's X-Play on Tuesday, May 3rd. That's right after the day right before this show comes out on podcast services at 12 p.m. Pacific time for an interview in which he talks about his releasing on May 3rd, his new book, Disrupting the Game, which Ed already has because he's a hacker. What the heck, Ed?
Wow.
Oh, I'm jealous.
So I pre-ordered it from Barnes and Noble when the pre-orders went live.
I pre-ordered it on Amazon, and I just, like, literally right before FamiNews, I got the email saying that it shipped and it'll be here May 3rd. I'm frustrated.
Yeah, I got mine last week when I found out the pre-orders was live, and because I didn't know he was doing a book, and so when I seen it, and everybody's just like, "Yeah, check it out, Reggie's doing it." I was just like pre-order, and it came in last week. I haven't started reading it yet, but I'm excited to.
For sure, yeah, no. Coconut in the chat saying, "Whoa, Ed knows Reggie personally." Confirmed.
Wow,
clearly. All right, so last little quick headline news. Twitter user WipeoutJack7 posted today, May 2nd, that some interesting finds while data mining the recently released Switch Sports. These findings include possible future sports coming to the game, such as basketball and dodgeball, though there's no confirmation on if these are actually going to be coming to the game or if they're just remnants of scrapped ideas from development. But hey, dodgeball would be super awesome. I've been wanting a Super Dodgeball Advanced game for a long time, so having that come to Switch Sports would be cool. Soccer is my favorite one. I love being goalie in Switch Sports Soccer. It's a lot of fun. And then our final and big topic of the week, the Embracer Group, a Swedish video game holding company and parent company of Gearbox, Saber Interactive, and THQ Nordic, and many, many others, has entered an agreement to acquire Crystal Dynamics, Square-Enix Montreal, Eidos Montreal, and plus several IPs, including Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, and Legacy of Kain, for $300 million from Square Enix. The deal is expected to close during second quarter of the fiscal year, sometime, or otherwise known as sometimes between July and September of 2022. And were you hoping this meant that Square Enix was going to be investing heavily in the success of its Japanese studios behind Bravely Default 2, Octopath Traveler, and Triangle Strategy? Well, better luck next time, because it's actually going into blockchain or NFTs, AI, and more cloud gaming services.
Yes, you know what I need? I need my NFTs.
So I found this out because Corey tweeted about it this morning, and I'm like, what the word? I was out of it. I was like dead tired. And so I went to Game Informer and I seen the news and was just like, wow. And the reason why I'm so shocked by this, me and Corey has been talking about Microsoft buying Crystal Dynamics. And I wouldn't expect the other companies being so and everything. So when getting this news is big, and me and Corey was texting each other, and now it's just like it's a possibility that we could be getting some of their games ported over to Switch because of Saber Interactive.
Yeah, because Saber, if people who don't know, are the wizards who ported The Witcher 3 over to the Switch. And not that, I don't know if we're going to be getting stuff like Guardians of the Galaxy or anything, because I think that is a Square kind of, like a sequel or anything, because that's a deal made with Square Enix and stuff. But, think of all the games that Crystal Dynamics...
Well, that is on the Switch on cloud.
Yeah, I know. Right.
Yeah.
Cloud versions don't count, guys.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, let's get that out there right away. But
the Tomb Raider trilogy, back catalog of those, like Tomb Raider Legend and Anniversary and Underworld, would be acceptable. They would be acceptable ports. Deus Ex, the definitive edition of Deus Ex Human Revolution, is on the Wii U, everybody. It's the best version of the game. Even critics say it's the best version of the game. You know why? Because they redid the boss fights for that game, specifically for the Wii U version, and they didn't come out to any other versions of the game. That would be a great thing to have on the Switch. Legacy of Kain, that back catalog, would be awesome. And we know Embracer Group is very open to porting back catalog games to the Switch, right? Red Faction, Saints Row, Borderlands.
Oh yeah.
All these games have been ported to the Switch, and it's like, wow, this is awesome. And I know some of that was in partnership with publishing partners like 2K with Borderlands and stuff, but like this would open up a whole library of games for Nintendo owners if they decide to port some of these games. Some of them, granted, some of them I understand maybe couldn't make it, like the newest Deus Ex game, but like the newest Thief game easily probably could run on the Switch. The first two Tomb Raider games are Xbox 360 games, so those could be moved over.
Right.
The previous trilogy of Tomb Raider games is something I would love to see on the Switch. I think they're super underrated. I think Tomb Raider Legend is an awesome game. So yeah, I mean, Jacob, what do you think? I've been kind of rambling. So
I'm super excited about the Embracer Group side of this deal. I've made it very clear that I am boycotting Square-Enix. I have been since their Final Fantasy 1 through 6 debacle, coming to mobile and PC instead of any consoles at all. And then it seems like every week there's another. Square-Enix is in the news again for something that just makes me reaffirm that, like, yep, they're just really going downhill. And I actually tweeted last week about how, like, it blows my mind that there are companies out there. Like, I would love to be a fly on the wall for these companies that announce that they're taking part in NFTs and in blockchain, like, because nobody understands it. Nobody likes it right now. And it's just, it always comes back. They announce it and the communities are like, this is the worst idea ever. Y'all need to do away with it, or I'm abandoning ship. I'm not going to support you. And then they, like, a few days later, they announce, hey, sorry, we hear y'all. We're not doing it. And I'm just like, what? Who is out here in these companies going like, yeah, but this time we'll do it right. No, you won't do it right. And then Cloud, the worst thing that they could have ever done is put Kingdom Hearts on the Switch as a cloud game, and they're investing into more cloud gaming. Like, oh man.
I mean,
the only thing that I still hold dear to my heart from Square-Enix is the Dragon Quest series, and I'm so afraid that they're going to ruin that somehow. Like,
well, I think it's kind of been a shift with Square-Enix, and when we get into dark mode, we're going to have a bigger discussion about it, because it kind of connects into our dark mode section. It kind of feels like Square has big expectations when a game comes out and sells. They don't expect their RPGs to do a big number because they don't say anything about it. It has always been their Western games that even if they pass 2 or 3 million, they feel like it has not hit to the level of success that they were expecting.
Well,
that happened with stupid.
Sorry, Ed. I want to piggyback off that real quick before you go in. Like, remember the original the Tomb Raider reboot?
Yeah,
sold 7.8 million units, and that was more than the launch of Final Fantasy, whatever the most recent Dragon Quest was, and one other thing that they had. And they considered it a failure, and it was the highest rated game, and it's also the game that sold the most.
Right, because it didn't hit like 10 million.
I think their expectation was 13 million units.
I think Square Enix just needs to buckle up and say, you know what, maybe we're not that great of a company and shouldn't expect our games to do this well.
And I think that's minus the NFT and cloud crap, right? Like, I think that's the trajectory they're moving, because I see because they're obviously in some sort of partnership with Sony, right? With some of their stuff like Final Fantasy 16, the Final Fantasy 7 remake. Their Forspoken also looks really awesome. They're in bed with Sony for their giant AAA stuff. And then you have their kind of single A / experimental things with Nintendo, right? With Octopath Traveler, Triangle Strategy, Trials of Mana, that the remake, some of the Tokyo RPG Factory stuff. So like,
Yeah.
they have strategies in place, and I actually feel like the Western arm has been like the ball and chain, like they're dragging it with them. They're like, okay, let's go. We don't really know what to do with you, but let's go. And like, now that they're kind of free of this, I feel like this is just the best move for both parties. I think Embracer Group will allow Crystal Dynamics to kind of expand and kind of grow, because their budget will be, they won't cut off their budget just because their game is delayed by 6 months or whatever, right? Like,
Right.
I feel like Square-Enix did, which is why, Avengers, I think, kind of turned out how it turned out, is because like Square wanted this thing. Crystal Dynamics is not known for this thing, but they because like the original vision for Avengers from all kind of sources or whatever is that it was going to be kind of like a single player experience, and Square wanted that game as a service. Well, how do you do that? Let's turn Avengers into it. And they like Square Enix just or Crystal Dynamics just looked super uncomfortable making this game. Right. And so returning to what they're good at, having that budget, not really being worried about sales numbers or high expectations, right? I mean, like, the Embracer Group's biggest IP is Darksiders and Borderlands, right? I mean, Borderlands sells millions of units, right? Whatever.
Right.
But like Darksiders, Red Faction, Saints Row, like Saints Row's coming out, that looks great. Like, I just don't think the Embracer Group has the same type of expectations that Square Enix has. And so I feel like these companies are going to be able to breathe a little bit.
I want to... Sorry, go ahead, Ed.
Oh, it's about putting out quality games, and quality games needed to interest. And it was just because this even happened with Square opening a company in the West on the Super Nintendo to make Secret Evermore. They ended up closing them after one game, even though Secret Evermore so decent and people enjoyed it. It just feels like Square, when it comes to the west west of gaming development, that they don't care, or they put pressure on them, where it feels like with their Eastern games, like with the RPGs and stuff, they don't have expectations or anything, because Left Alive didn't do anything. That one game that they had that was bad with the one guy, like, those were so thrown under the radar. Like, Square Enix didn't say anything about them, even though they were bad, terrible games and no one really bought them. Square Enix didn't say anything. But when a company like Crystal Dynamics put out a great quality title in itself, how is that still bad? How's that worse? How what is the business that I'm not getting? Because you have to be making more money. You have to be covering already the budget for the development with that, with those kind of sales. So what is bad about them? I like I said, it's so weird that Tomb Raider, the reboot, sold that many copies, and then you have a problem in Japan where 1 million copies of Final Fantasy 13 is in the used bin the week it comes out.
Well, then you look at something like Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Which was like there was no marketing for that game. There was no marketing outside that long E3 presentation, and then like, a couple weeks before the game come out, there's a commercial here or there, but like there was no real marketing for that game, and that game ended up being the best game that they've put out from their Western arm since Rise of the Tomb Raider, right? And so,
right,
I don't know what they're doing. Jacob, sorry, we just kind of spun out.
No, yeah, I just wanted to add on one other thing. So I was reading a couple different opinion pieces on this and trying to just find some more information. And apparently, so you mentioned that like these three companies that are being sold to Embracer Group, and them having the freedom to do something. Apparently, with this sale, this makes Embracer Group the largest like hand in the Western market. They have the biggest reach and most game development companies in the Western market. And so hopefully this just means that there won't be that expectation, because they don't have to rely on any particular studio to just bring them in money.
Yeah.
You know, like they get to just let these companies do what they do best and make games.
Yeah, it's crazy because like when you think of the Embracer Group, like you're like, oh well, who are they? But they have like 132 studios, like across the board. Like I mean, a lot of them are also mobile studios, but like, you know, it's just wild. You just don't think of them, and I think I think this is a group that people should start paying attention to. Or should have been paying attention to, because I've definitely been paying attention to them for a while. But like, you know, they did the whole THQ rebrand thing.
Yes.
You know, and they own Deep Silver now and THQ Nordic and all that kind of stuff. And so
Yeah.
just pay attention to the Embracer Group, because they're going to be putting out some game like Dead Island 2 is theirs, right? Because that's supposed to be re-revealed soon. Saints Row, obviously I said that before. So they've got some IP. They've got some powerful IP in here. So,
yep. But yeah, so that was your FamiNews for this week.
FamiNews.
All right. Everybody, time for Dark Mode.
Wow.
Square-Enix, Konami, Activision, Sega, Platinum Games, Capcom, BioWare, and more have a lot in common. One of them is having a hit or miss period in video games. Even Nintendo themselves had a roller coaster for time. So I wanted to ask the Elite Black Agents, what makes a company have a hit lineup of games, and what is the cause of them having some misses? You ready, Elite Black Agents? Let's go! Also, shout out and thanks to @LowRuleLegend on Twitter for the idea conversation. So, we just got done talking about Square-Enix, and this question is talking about when a company has some hits and then they have some misses. And what makes that happen and everything. Corey, I'm gonna go to you. What makes a company have a hit, and what makes it also have a miss?
Well, first of all, I think some of these also, like, you have to consider what they thought expectations would be and what actually happened, right? Like, I think Konami is a good example, especially because like they got out of games right for a little bit after Metal Gear Solid 5, and they had a lot of expectations for that game, and even though it was a Metal Gear game and it was super popular and whatever, right, it didn't make them enough money, and so it was considered a dud for them. But it sold what at the time, like 5 or 6 million units, right?
Well, and it's critically acclaimed too.
Yeah.
Like even though a lot of people didn't buy it,
Uh-huh.
it's still considered one of the best Metal Gear games.
Right. And so, like, you got to consider that stuff. We just talked about Square-Enix, Ed. We have a whole expansion pass on Platinum games, on their ups and downs, right? And
Yeah.
I think some of these companies just aren't managed well, straight up, right? You know, like, I mean, we just talked about Square and them selling off their Western arm. Like, they're clearly putting all their eggs in their Japanese basket now, right? With, I'm sure, Final Fantasy, which, don't get me wrong, Final Fantasy 16 looks awesome. Forspoken looks awesome. Final Fantasy 7, by all accounts, is awesome. They're clearly heading in a direction, and they have a clear vision of where they want to go, right? Dragon Quest 12 is supposed to be darker and grittier, right? And then they have their kind of low-tier Nintendo titles with Octopath and Triangle Strategy and the Dragon Quest 3 remake that's coming, and that Final Fantasy Tactics,
Default.
not Final Fantasy Tactics game that's coming out. I think that's one thing you have to look at, but also, like, when you look at Sega, and they've had so many ups and downs in their history, right? Like, the Genesis was a clear high point, and then the Saturn was a dip, and then the Dreamcast was like a high point in terms of people being nostalgic for it and really liking those games, but a lot of people didn't buy the Dreamcast because they were waiting for PS2. And then obviously when they got out of the console business, that was like a nosedive.
Right.
But they've found their way, right? We talked a little bit about this on our expansion pass episode, but they found their way with Sonic being bigger than ever, I would argue, at this point. And not even because of his video games, but because of the movies and the comic books and the toys and stuffed animals and stuff that they sell, like merchandising. And their Atlas arm is doing awesome with Persona and Shin Megami Tensei and all these other RPGs that people love. And I think Sega is a company that you can point at and say they have a vision, they found their way. Now just make a good Sonic game, and people will like praise Sega forever. And they've got that deal with Microsoft for their Super Game initiative that is supposedly starting with Crazy Taxi and Jet Set Radio, which seems interesting. Big budget Crazy Taxi is going to be an interesting sell. That'd be cool though. Like I like Crazy Taxi. That game's cool. I hope they get the announcer guy back. Crazy Taxi.
No, there you go. You can be the announcer guy.
But then you look at BioWare, right? Where like the pinnacle of BioWare was like KOTOR and Dragon Age 1 and 2 and Mass Effect. And then we hit Anthem. Not great. Then you hit Mass Effect Andromeda. Not great. You hit Anthem. Just a total dud. And now their reputation and their existence really rely on Dragon Age 4 and the next Mass Effect. And
right.
You never want to see a studio hit that mark, you know? So, yeah, I don't know. Jacob, do you have any?
Yeah, so I think that it relies heavily on what the higher ups are willing and wanting to sacrifice in their game development versus what the community desires. So like you see in Nintendo's case, you see people calling for games series like Paper Mario and Mario and Luigi and Mario Party and The Legend of Zelda and F-Zero and Star Fox, and people want these series back, but they want them back with like the crazy over the top weirdness that Nintendo used to have, and Nintendo plays it a lot safer now. There's the whole issue with like Paper Mario isn't allowed to have wacky characters anymore. Like a toad is just a toad is just a toad in Paper Mario. There's no like treasure hunter toad and toad with gun. And like, it's just a toad. It's just a toad, just like all the Koopas are just Koopas. But before they had personalities and those were ideas that producers and higher ups in the game development process made, but now they're leaning more towards, we don't want it to have originality, but we want it to be fun. And these games are still fun, so they still find success. But then you get other companies where they don't want the originality and they don't even care if the game is fun. They just want it to make money. And that's where you get into the issue of like, well, you get your situations like Anthem, you get your situations like the Star Wars game that everyone just totally bashed because it was a pay to win. Like the one, I think Battlefront 2, I think is what it was. It's you see these plays that are just based purely in greed, and consumers aren't going to fall for that or allow for that. Like they want a good product. And I think that you see that because you hit a point where these companies who have had major success get a little bit too big for their britches, think that they can do no wrong, and that people are willing to buy their games just because it's a Nintendo game, just because it's a Square-Enix game, just because it's an Atlas game. They think, you know what, we can sell whatever we want to these people. I've
done that.
Yeah. And so you get to that point, and that's when you start seeing that greed set in. That's when you start seeing them cut corners because they can save a little bit more money, and they can they'll release that content later, or they'll ship an unfinished game and update it. It'll be fine. Like they just get too big, and you got to have people there to wheel them back in. And that's why I would so desperately love to just sit in on these business meetings to hear why nobody in the company, or if somebody in the company is raising their hand and saying like, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this, why it's being shut down and these other actions are chosen.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, and-
It's,
Oh, go ahead, Corey.
oh, I was gonna say video games are in this weird spot where like it's an art form to create these games, but they're in the middle of the business side and the investor side, and like it gets muddy when the investors are trying to squeeze their decisions into these creative decisions, and you have to find a way to weave them. And a lot of reasons games aren't, sometimes aren't as successful. Like look at Mass Effect Andromeda, for example, right? Like they started that game in Unreal Engine 4, I think. And this was at a time where EA wanted all their games to run on Frostbite because they didn't have to pay licensing fees for their engines, for these other engines. They could kind of swap assets if they needed to, right? Like if you like a helicopter in Battlefield could be transferred over to Madden in some sort of like over the stadium kind of aerial thing or whatever, right? They wanted to be able to swap assets if they needed to. And that would have, and this was also around the time when they struck the Star Wars deal where everything was in Frostbite. And so, Battlefront 2 already has the X-Wing built in Frostbite. Let's move it over to Project Ragtag, which was the canceled Amy Hennig game. And, they could asset swap, which is like a great idea in theory, right? But then you fall into like, Frostbite was made for a big open first-person shooter, not a football game, not a third-person action game like Mass Effect, right? And so you find yourself in these situations where, Mass Effect Andromeda was technically in development for 5 years, but they built that game in 18 months because they had to switch engines. They had to cut all their ideas because originally it was supposed to be more like No Man's Sky, where you kind of flew off to these random planets to explore and kind of build settlements and, kind of have some sort of Mass Effect style story there, which sounds great. It sounds cool. But when you have to shove the story into 18 months into an engine that you're not used to, then you get weird facial animations like that game was kind of criticized for, and your decision trees don't work, and you cut your ending and your DLC doesn't come out, right? Like there's all these things that just it's a domino effect. And that's just one example of probably 10 or 15 I could give you from the companies you've listed alone, Ed. It's just video games, just like the creative decisions are based on investor decisions, and that's just it just becomes a bad look.
Well, and sorry, Ed, I'm gonna hop in here, not to shut you.
Let me give my answer first. And then
okay.
So I think with the question with the hit and misses, I think definitely like a person like me, I'm retro. So I have seen companies have hit games. Konami was a big name in the arcade and console market. Capcom was even a big name. And it kind of felt like in the 90s and 2000s, these companies, these Japanese companies, and even some American companies were really putting out games that it really wasn't about cinematics or this big explosive and stuff. People were just enjoying the games because they were putting out quality and everything. And I think when as systems continue to get bigger and graphics and be able to tell more stories and do multiplayer and all these other functionalities and features, they start seeing certain IPs that were familiar like really sell a lot to a lot of people. And it's kind of just like, to me, I feel like there's been such a transition in games and everything. You know, Corey, you mentioned Sega. You know, Sega was on top of the game in the arcade, and like when the Dreamcast closed, Sega switched to third party. They started putting their stuff on the GameCube and everything, and that started making them money. Yakuza was a game no one knew about. Persona was a game that no one knew about, but as time goes, look how those games have been. Yakuza has become a big name property. The Persona games have become a big name property. Atlas themselves has become a known. That was a very niche company. Like you couldn't find all of their games and everything. And so to see like this kind of rise and fall of these companies with some of their games, it's really surprising to see how they allow, like you said, Corey, these investors come in and get their input because they think that if we put this in, we'll make more money for it. And because of their investment and not really knowing games, that has destroyed a lot of products. Cyberpunk is a big one. You know, those investors and those people at the top, they put all of their input to that game, and that game was nowhere near ready. And look how it came out, which really, even though it's sold, it really hurt the reputation of that company.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that what you're saying though, Ed, is like that exactly illustrates my point. Is that like these companies get recognition and they get noticed and they get a brand name for themselves, and then they ride on that for so long that they think that they can just do no wrong. And then you get these companies like Atlas who comes in after that, who isn't well known and isn't riding on that brand recognition and has to continue to put out an excellent product in order to reach the sales and the numbers that they need. And so once these other companies hit that tipping point, well, now it's Atlas's turn. And I'd hate to say it, but because Atlas is one of my favorite companies, but I'm sure unless they're managing and maintaining their expectations, we're going to see the point where Atlas releases just an awful product, and they've hit the point where they got too big and relied too much on their laurels and just expected people to buy it because it's Persona 12, you know, like that's exactly what happens. Is that you see it's a circle, because you see these companies start at the top and then they get too high and inevitably have to fall down, but then there's another company that come right back behind them and take its place. And I think a big part of that is the creative side versus the investor side, because like you see like with Super Balan World or whatever the Balan World game is, where we didn't even know that the guy, I forget his name.
Yuji Naki.
Yeah, that was the reason everyone was so excited about it, was because the guy who created these franchises that everyone knows and loves, is producing this game. He's like heading it up, and then come to find out that no, he got kicked off the project. And we never knew. We never had any idea, because they keep things under rush, and it's because they needed to get the game out and they wanted to make money and didn't care that the creative side wasn't ready.
It's the same thing kind of with Shenmue 3. Like, it was a big thing that year that won PlayStation like E3 when it came out, and it made all that money in Kickstarter, and then when the game came out, it was just questionable content all throughout. It did not play well.
But that game was fully fan funded. There was no. I thought that game didn't have a publisher.
It did. Deep Silver published it, and they got and they ended up getting investments from Deep Silver or somebody. So it was fan funded. And they got an investment like later on down, because everybody was wondering why the game was taking so long. And they weren't seeing any like progress and stuff. So when that game came out finally, people think that it was going to be this top quality game. It had all of this money from Kickstarter. People were literally excited to play this, and it just bombed.
Okay, you're right. It did have a publisher. Sorry.
Yeah.
Talking to myself. Go ahead, Jacob. Sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say I think all of this still backs up what I say, because I think that they people wanted Shenmue 3 enough that they were like, why give them anything extra? People want it. They paid for it up front. They gave their money before they even had a product.
I thought people that who enjoyed Shenmue 1 and 2, that this was exactly the game that they wanted. I thought that was the thing, and then this was not really a game to get new people in. It was to appease the fans of the first two games.
I don't know, because I actually am not a fan of any of the Shenmue games, but I do know that a lot of people that like, I know it's a cult classic.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the cult idea of it is, but if it is what Ed's saying, that people thought it was severely lacking, then that's why.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's not to knock all these companies, because I think when they do have a hit title, Nintendo is notoriously known for not doing new IPs, but they tried it out with Splatoon. That was a big hit. Now we're up to 3. They tried it with ARMS. We didn't get a follow-up, but they tried something. Codename Steam. New IP. They tried something, and it's kind of weird that, like, even with Nintendo, that sometimes they may not get a game that is going to be a hit or anything, but I think sometimes they recognize that, hey, we're still proud of the product that we make, and hey, maybe we will come back to it later on down the line. Maybe we would revisit it and get a sequel or a remake. Like, at least Nintendo, somewhat, in my opinion, still cares about every title that they put out. So maybe it may not work out for them at that time. It's kind of interesting to see that, it may not have met sales things, but then sometimes they see that their sales continually happen for that IP and stuff. And for a new IP to even get to 1 million, that's big for a lot of people, because back in early 2000s, no one would try a new IP. You was almost destined to fail if your new IP wasn't like something people were really interested in to try, because that was how EA was. EA was staying with these sequels because they didn't want to invest into a new IP because they thought they would lose a lot of money.
I've actually brought up a list of Nintendo's new IP since the year 2000, and there are a lot more than people remember, I think. So these are technically IP owned by Nintendo, not necessarily developed by Nintendo. But we have Eternal Darkness, Golden Sun, Advance Wars, Pikmin, Xenoblade Chronicles, Batten Kaitos, Pandora's Tower, Last Story, the Wii Sports Fit Play series. They kind of count that as one. Soma Bringer, Elite Beat Agents, Rhythm Heaven, Chibi Robo, Steel Diver, Fossil Fighter. What is Fossil Fighter?
Oh, it's kind of like a Pokemon game where you find these dinosaurs.
What are the Nintendo IPs that's come out since 2010?
Since 2010. Let me look that up.
Because as a big of Nintendo fan as I am, I kind of am seeing the decline for them, and I feel like they're teetering on the edge of releasing that one game that just makes everyone upset. And I'm hopeful that it doesn't come, but
I think
it's been trending in that direction.
I think Nintendo's been more creative in the last decade than they have been in a while, especially with Splatoon and Astral Chain, technically Platinum, but Nintendo owns the IP, and ARMS, which was like, well, whatever, but it's still a new IP. Sorry, I'm trying to look favorite new Nintendo.
No, you're good.
IP of the 2010s. Okay, so we have ARMS, Astral Chain, Ring Fit Adventure, Labo, Sushi Striker, Daemon X Machina, Snipper Clips, Fitness Boxing, The Stretchers, and Good Job.
Yeah, those are both like indie style games.
Yeah, I have Good Job. I guess I didn't realize that was published by Nintendo.
Stretchers is like Overcooked, but with an ambulance.
Okay. It said these are IP excluding Splatoon and Xenoblade Chronicles.
Well, Xenoblade Chronicles is not necessarily a new IP because it comes from like the Xenogears series.
I know, but
Splatoon though is like their one big IP that they've since released because they've had a lot of good one-offs, but
yeah. I mean, you could throw Pikmin in there too, I guess. Technically.
Yeah.
I mean, Pikmin, it's not like a huge IP, but it is newer, and I don't know. I have a soft spot in my heart for Pikmin, but that's just me.
Definitely Pikmin 2 was like that was the hit of the series when Pikmin 2 came out.
I mean, I do think here's the thing: Nintendo has so many IP that, like, I mean, look what they did with The Legend of Zelda, right? Like with Breath of the Wild, they just totally, completely changed that game, that series, and it feels like a brand new game. You know, I mean. They don't have to create something new to make something new. They just have to reinvent, like what we were talking about with Star Fox earlier, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I would love to have some sort of Star Fox adventure style game with some unique shooting segments. Like, I think that would be a great evolution for Star Fox, you know? But I don't know. I wish Nintendo would create something. Well, shoot. See, like, because like Astral Chain, technically theirs, right? I mean,
right.
Yeah, but I don't think Nintendo had much of a hand in creating it.
No,
I think Platinum Games had an idea, and Nintendo funded it and bought it from them.
I mean, I agree with you there, but I mean, it's still technically a Nintendo IP.
It's still technically a Nintendo IP. Yes, yeah. No, I wonder what they're gonna do with it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about it, I think they'll, depending on Platinum Games, still stay independent. I think Nintendo will keep working with them. I
think Platinum Games is going to be gone within the next 2 years, unless they create a hit somewhere.
Well, we shall see. Final thoughts, you guys. Jacob.
I mean, I've already kind of said mine. Final thoughts for me are just that I hope that the companies that I personally love, like Nintendo, like Atlas, manage to keep themselves from that tipping point. And even if they have to take a couple steps back and release a couple games that aren't quite big hits, but they aren't bad, it's not because they're bad, it's just because they're kind of safe. I would prefer that versus the whole Switch or Wii U cycle. Like, I don't want the Switch, whatever comes after the Switch, I don't want it to be a Wii U. I don't want it to be a flop. I need it to be. I need it to go from the NES to the SNES again, not a Wii U situation.
Right.
Corey.
Thoughts? I mean, I'm with Jacob. Like, I don't want Nintendo to have another downer, right? I mean, Ed, we covered the Wii U for so long, and there were long stretches of that where we would just ramble because there was nothing to talk about, right? And
yes,
and I don't want to do that again. I think I'm selfishly, I don't want to do that again. I want to be excited to come do this show every week on a premise that's not just us being excited Nintendo fans, right? Like, I want to talk about what's happening, what's new, what's coming out. I want to talk about new IP. I think new IP is so important, especially if they're trying to position themselves as the Disney of video games, right? Because, like, they're expanding into movies now and theme parks and all these other things. And I get it. Mario is important. Link and Zelda are important, right? Pokemon is important, right? These are huge IP that are super important to the legacy of the brand and the future of the brand. I get it. But for every Splatoon, there's a Chibi Robo, right? Like, Splatoon's a huge hit, and as adorable as Chibi Robo is, it's not popular, right? It's just not. It has 3 games, right? They need to have more Splatoons, and I think Nintendo needs to open up a little bit and, like, find some companies to work with to create new IP, to have a foundation, build on the foundation that Zelda, Mario, Samus, Kirby, have built. And I think that they need to start doing that. Can they survive without it? Of course they can. It's Nintendo. Look at the GameCube, look at the Wii U, look at the Virtual Boy, right? They've survived these downers, But you don't want to be known as the company is like, oh, we have a hit. Oh, we're a downer. Oh, we have a hit. Oh, we're a downer.
Yeah.
And I don't like that pattern. We've had that pattern enough. I'm done with that pattern.
And you made me think of something. So real quick before you go, Ed, they need to retire the old guard. They need to let Miyamoto and even Eiji Aonuma and like even I think Koji Kondo doesn't work for Nintendo anymore, but I could be wrong. But like all of the people, Takashi Tezuka, all of the people that have had their hand in this company for so long, they need to let these new people come in, the young minds come in and have a chance to be creative and do things like Splatoon, because that's where they're going to find success for the future. Right. Because eventually, we all hate to think about it, but eventually Miyamoto's going to pass and somebody's got to keep the lights on.
Well, and to think about, oh, go ahead, Corey.
I was just going to say, like, you have, like, you look at Breath of the Wild, like Aonuma didn't direct that. He's just a producer, right?
Yeah.
And you have Fujibayashi, right? He was the director of this game. And like, look how powerful this game was for the success of the console. You look at Koizumi and you look at the success of Mario Odyssey. You look at the Splatoon team and how big that is. Like, the new guard is coming in with these creative ideas and doing cool, unique things that is going to make Nintendo's legacy live on from Aonuma and Miyamoto and even Iwata, right? Like, we still talk about Iwata's fingerprints are still all over the Switch, and like, I love Iwata. I don't think anything's ever going to take that away from Nintendo fans who lived through at least the N64 era on, right? He's such an influential figure in Nintendo's legacy. But as we move forward, right, and Furukawa seems to have the right business sense, right? And you have these creatives coming up through, and Miyamoto and Aonuma kind of shepherding these new voices through, and we're seeing that. I would like to see them kind of, instead of like, poking their head through the door, I want to see them kick it down, and burst with new ideas.
Yeah.
And I think, because my final thoughts is, I think Nintendo has been doing that, has been letting the young creators come in, and the young creators have been going to Miyamoto and Aonuma and being like, we have this idea, and bouncing back ideas, seeing how it works. And these old guards, they've been telling like, okay, these are the questions. How can you incorporate it? How can you make it fun? How can you balance this? And it makes them think and go back to the drawing board and be like, okay, it seems like they love the idea. We need to flesh it out more. And then when it gets fleshed out and input to the game and it works, we get excited about it, because that's kind of how it feels like Nintendo's innovation is happening. And because of that innovation, they're having some hits. Yeah, they may have some misses, but you got to point out that, hey, they tried something different. And I think that's what's the thing with the hit and miss with a lot of companies, is that people are willing now in this age to try different things. Why do you think the indie scene has blown up? Because they have done a lot of stuff that's different. Not all the indie games have been hits or anything. There's been some misses, but people have been interested to try it out. And I think that's what's going to continue on in the future, depending on how, budgets and everything and investors get into games and stuff. I think we'll still have hit and misses, but I think if things are done right, we'll have a consistency of hits than we will misses. And sometimes we need those misses to be able to innovate and make better games. So that's my final thought. Thank you guys for that, for the stock mode. We're going to get into playing with power. Okay, Corey, what have you been playing with power?
So on Switch, I've been playing. I've been like, I thought I was going to move on from Super Mario 3D World, but I am obsessed with getting all of these green stars in Champions Road. I'm in it now, right? Like, I'm halfway through the third section of Champions Road, all the stars. I have 8 more stamps to collect. I'm nose deep in this, right? Every day I complete 2 levels, and that's my limit because I've found like an optimum playtime with Super Mario 3D World. I will play 2 levels, perfect those 2 levels, and put it down. That's my cadence. And because after that, I start getting frustrated and impatient, and I want to preserve my lives. I have like 60 something lives I want to keep. Also, I realized that on your save game after you beat Bowser, it tells you how many times you've died, and I don't want that number to get any higher than it is. It is the best Mario game. I love this game so much.
I do too.
So much. So I've been playing that. Also on Switch, Ed, I know I told you I was going to start playing Link's Awakening. And I haven't played Switch Sports yet. I'm going to get to it this week. But I can feel Ed's eyes rolling right now. I started playing Assassin's Creed 2 on Switch.
Nice.
And I've been enjoying myself with it because I wanted some kind of like, I don't know what I wanted, and I was just like, well, I own all the Assassin's Creed games on Switch. I might as well just play them, Kind of want to play them. I'm in the mood for something like that. Let's just do it. So, I've been playing Assassin's Creed 2, and let me tell you, this game did not age well. It is ugly. So, let me preface this. The environments are beautiful. All right, they're like, I feel like the 360 era is like when we really started nailing the way environments should look. They're not muddy. The architecture is beautiful, that kind of stuff. But man, when you get up on these people's faces, man, it is a wreck. They are ugly people. Not that I'm like the prettiest person on the planet, but oh my gosh, dude, these oof, boy. And the controls, man, coming from Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Origins and Valhalla, where those games control pretty well, and the climbing, you can kind of climb anything you want, right? Especially in Odyssey, to like, you have to look for the brick sticking out or the open window to climb. Oh my gosh, dude, it's so annoying. But I've been playing that. It's been scratching an itch. I don't know how much longer I'll be playing it because, yeah. But on top of that, I got the Backbone, which is what I was talking about earlier.
Yes.
And so I've been playing remote play on my Xbox with this, and I've been playing Destiny on my phone with this. I've been playing Outriders with my phone on this, and I've been playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey on my phone with this. And it works pretty well. There's no lag in the controls. The only lag is there's a slight lag with, like, obviously remote play, you're playing over Wi-Fi or the internet, and it's only as good as your internet is.
Yes.
I've kind of felt that playing the cloud versions of the game, like, so Outriders is on Game Pass, so I've been playing it through the Game Pass browser on iPhone, and that actually works better than remote play, which is crazy to me that works better. But overall, if you want to play your Xbox or your PlayStation on your phone, they make an Android version of the Backbone as well. Or even like, I don't know if you can stream PC games. I think there's a Steam Link app, right, that you can stream. I don't know how that works. Or even like Apple Arcade stuff, right? Like, I've been wanting to play that, what's it called? The Mistwalker game that's on Apple Arcade. It works. It works really well. The only thing is like, I'm so used to playing Switch that this controller is slightly smaller, so my thumb placement is kind of off because I'm so used to the Switch. But if you want another mobile option and you want to play on your phone, this is a good get. Highly recommended.
All right. Jacob, what have you been playing with Power?
Yeah, so I finally dove into Xenoblade Chronicles, that series. I've had Xenoblade Chronicles 2 for a very long time, but I didn't want to play it until I played through Xenoblade Chronicles 1, and I finally got Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it a lot. I have a couple complaints. I have a couple like nitpicky things. It suffers from I don't know if this was the way it was back when it released on the Wii, but in Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, you can do what's called basically you can, in Monster Hunter they call it layered armor. You can put on armor sets that look a certain way, but then you can still equip other armor, and your visual doesn't change. But if you turn that off, so complaint number one is that the best set of armor that I've found,
I know where you're going with this, because I think
for Fiora is literally a bikini.
Yep.
And I'm just like, man, come on. Like I was sending pictures to my friends being like, look at this. I got this blonde-haired nerd, this doofus tank, and then this girl who's like the highest damage dealer, and her best gear is a bikini. So that's that. I very quickly turned on all the like whatever the base default armor looks was. I'm like, I'm not dealing with this, because it wouldn't be so bad if she was running around in a bikini in like just the overworld, and then when cutscenes happened, it switched to her default look. But no, I had the unfortunate side effect of watching. I don't consider it a spoiler, but spoiler alert if you are wanting to play this game and you don't know anything about it. Fiora gets like offed really early in the game, which is another complaint that I have. But in my game, she got offed while in a mech suit wearing a bikini. So like. It's just weird. It was like this really dramatic scene, and she's in a bikini, and that was interesting. But then the other thing, and I was talking to Dan about this a little bit, is like I feel like the Fiora scene is the like when she dies, quote unquote, because you don't know. There's no like proof. You're not guaranteed to know that she's dead. It just makes it seem like she died. But I don't care. And I feel like I'm supposed to care. It's very clear that Shulk and Ryan care about her. But like up to this point, I've had maybe like an hour of gameplay with her, and I just don't care. Like I just like, it's like they tried to pull an Aerith with her, and it just happened way too soon. It was actually a situation that I knew it was coming, but I kept, while I was watching the cutscene, I was like, this isn't where it happens, right? Like Shulk's gonna like wake up a power of the Monado and save her, because clearly I have to like grow as the player to like her as a character. And no, she just gets. But it starts the whole adventure, and that's something that Dan and I talked about a little bit. That it's like the catalyst for the entire thing, so that's good at least. The gameplay is a lot of fun. I talked about it last week, but the battle system's really cool. I get a little annoyed that I can't. So like they have these combo systems where like one character has to topple or has to break an enemy, and then another character has to topple the enemy. But you only control one character in a battle. And so sometimes you use your topple ability and you're like, yes, now my partner has 30 seconds to do the follow-up attack. And then they just don't. And you have no say in it, and it's like, well, there goes that entire like weight. So I don't know. I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it, but it's I've got some complaints.
Yeah, the partner AI is definitely lacking.
It's lacking. It's lacking. And if it was a situation where I could like pause the battle, like I think in Final Fantasy VII Remake, they let you do this, where like you pause it and you're like, okay, go into the menu, tell Ryan to use this, tell Fiora to use this, and then it happens. Like that would solve all my problems, but it's not that. It's just I just have to hope that they do what I want them to do.
Yeah, that system definitely works better in Xenoblade 2.
Yeah. I'm excited to see it. It'll be cool to see like the evolution of the series and then get into Xenoblade 3. The other thing that I've been playing, and I mentioned last week that I've yet to be bitten by the Elden Ring bug, and that's still true, but I did have Dark Souls on my Switch. So I booted up Dark Souls, and that's a game. I'm not good at it. I'm really bad at it, but it's, I see why people enjoy it a lot. I get it. I was never unaware to why people like that style of game so much, but yeah, that's hard, man.
Yeah, I have not been. I mean, I think I talked about this on the Boss Rush podcast, but like, I've just played enough Soulsborne games to know that Elden Ring is not gonna be for me, and it is what it is. And who's like, you gotta play it. I'm like, not every game's for everybody, guys.
Yeah,
relax.
Yeah, I still have no like innate desire to buy Elden Ring and play it.
Yeah,
I'm sure if I see it for like $30, I'll pick it up. But until then, it's fine.
Yeah. I also can't tell you the amount of people I've heard say they bought it because it got good reviews and then complain about how hard it is because they didn't know it was a hard game. Because like I'm friends with people who don't like keep up on this stuff, right? Like we do, and they're like, "What's this Elden Ring?" I'm like, "It's one of those hard games," and they buy it because it's getting 10s everywhere, and then it's so hard that they like return it. Like one of my friends actually returned it to Walmart because he's like, I don't understand this game. There's no guide. There's nothing to tell you what to do. I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's about right. That's about right.
Well, for me, just going to keep it short. Played Nintendo Switch Sports with Stephanie and Dan. We did some bowling. Dan and Stephanie are good. I came in 5th, and I enjoyed it. And then we played volleyball and had a good time. Me and Stephanie won that. Played some more Contra, just anniversary, just for fun. Played 8 Doors, A Rumor's Afterlife Adventure. I'm now fighting a tree behind this nice burning building. Like it's really cool for the background. But my last game, and Corey, you're going to be excited about this. I picked up Tetris Effect Connected. It was $23.99 on sale for Switch.
Nice.
So I was just like, yep. So I have it on my Switch. I haven't started yet, but that is my game that I cannot wait to play. And everybody, yes, that has been Nintendo Pop Block. I have been your host, Eddie V. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Corey. You guys can find me on Twitter at ThatRetroCode and at Instagram at ThatRetroCode. You can find more of Nintendo Pop Block on Mondays. We go live on Twitch at 7:30, 8:30, or you can catch us on Wednesdays at the Boss Rush YouTube page and bossrush.net. Corey, go ahead and plug.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at IamCoreyInHD. You can find me hosting the Boss Rush podcast, and you can find me on Standard Definition and After Dark and a plethora of other things here on the Boss Rush Network.
Jacob, where can we find you?
You can find me everywhere on the internet at Galutrad. That's Galutrad. I want to specifically check me out on TikTok, because I've been doing my daily updates for my Ring Fit adventure and have been having a lot of fun with it there. So
you look slimmer, Jacob.
Thank you. I feel slimmer.
Yeah.
At work I picked up a 50-pound box that I use. It's like a big box. It's not like just a small 50-pound box. So like I usually have to like lean back and kind of balance it on me a little bit. And today I went and picked it up and I was just like holding it suspended in the midair. And I was like, oh, wow, I am definitely getting stronger after doing Ring Fit every day for a month. So,
yes.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yes. Nice. And once again, everybody, come and be a Patreon producer. $5 will get you guys not only early access to our shows, but you also will get a shout out. And if you don't do $5, you give us $1 and help support bossrush.net. Also, everybody, once again, you can go to bossrush.net and to our Redbubble page and pick up a Nintendo Power Block 300 episode shirt. We are excited. We got some things planned for it, and we hopefully you guys will be wearing one when we go live with that episode. With that, everybody, have a great week, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time on the Nintendo Power Block. Bye, everybody. Woohoo!
Goodbye.
Woo-hoo.